Picture this. The red carpet is rolled out, the cameras are flashing, and a familiar face steps forward. A star forever linked to a wildly successful franchise that has defined an era of entertainment. Fans cheer, studios celebrate box office records, and yet, quietly, behind the scenes, a decision is being made to walk away, to step out of the costume, to close the door on fame that most people would cling to forever. It sounds unthinkable, almost reckless, but it is happening again and again across Hollywood. Why would someone leave a role that made them rich, famous, and adored? Why step away from a world that seems so secure? The answer is far more complex and revealing than the headlines suggest. Today, we explore the real reasons celebrities leave successful franchises to start over, and what that choice says about fame, identity, creativity, and the human need for reinvention in an industry that never stops watching. To the audience, a franchise can feel like a gift that never stops giving. Sequels, spin-offs, brand deals, conventions, and endless fan love form a comfortable, golden cage. But for the actor behind the character, that same success can quietly turn into a creative trap. Every role becomes a variation of the same face, the same voice, the same story. Casting directors begin to see the character instead of the person. Writers shape future work based on what already worked. Over time, the performer can start to feel less like an artist and more like a product. When an actor begins a role, it is often fueled by excitement, curiosity, and challenge. Years later, the same role can feel like repetition on an endless loop. The desire to break that cycle often becomes stronger than the promise of another paycheck or another premiere night on the world stage. There is also the invisible pressure of expectation. When someone becomes known worldwide for a single character, that character starts to follow them into every interview, every appearance, every script sent to their agent. Instead of being asked, "Who do you want to become next?" the question becomes, "When will you return?" Fans create entire identities around the actor's most famous role. While that love is powerful, it can also feel suffocating. The performer may start questioning, "Who am I without this?" That question alone can spark a deep internal struggle. Leaving a franchise is not simply about changing jobs. It is about reclaiming one's own identity from a global narrative that has been written around them for years or even decades. Beyond the emotional toll, there is a physical and mental cost. Blockbuster franchises are demanding machines. Training, travel, special diets, intense filming schedules, months away from family, and the constant pressure to look and perform a certain way all take their toll. In many cases, the audience only sees the glamorous final product, not the 17-hour filming days, the injuries, the exhaustion, and the isolation of living inside a character's world for most of the year. Over time, that lifestyle can lead to burnout. The body tires, the mind seeks quiet, and suddenly, a simpler project, or even complete silence, begins to look more attractive than the brightest lights of the biggest studios in the world. Another powerful force behind these departures is the desire for artistic growth. Many actors begin their careers driven by a love of storytelling and transformation. They want to explore different worlds, emotions, and perspectives. A long-running franchise can limit that exploration, placing them inside a fixed box. Creativity thrives on challenge, not comfort. Walking away from a guaranteed success can be an act of courage, a declaration that art still matters more than security. It is a choice to risk obscurity in exchange for authenticity. For some, it means taking roles in smaller films, working with new directors, or even stepping behind the camera to write and direct their own stories. Reinvention becomes the reward. Of course, the business side of Hollywood cannot be ignored. Studios rely on familiar faces and proven formulas to minimize risk. A change in casting can feel like gambling with millions of dollars. This is why negotiations around franchise roles are often complex, tense, and highly strategic. When a star chooses to walk away, it sends shockwaves through entire production plans. But interestingly, this disruption can also push the industry toward evolution. New actors get opportunities. New versions of beloved stories emerge. Fresh voices step into spaces that once seemed permanently occupied. The end of one era quietly becomes the beginning of another, both for the performer and for the audience. From a psychological perspective, Humans are not wired to stay the same forever. Growth is a natural instinct. The same applies to public figures. When we see a celebrity step away from something that works, we often project our own fears onto them. We imagine the safety of stability because that is what society teaches us to value. Yet internally, many of us also dream of reinvention, of starting over, of choosing a path that is unknown but more aligned with who we are becoming. In that sense, celebrities who leave major roles are not acting out of arrogance, but out of a very human urge to evolve, to rediscover purpose beyond past achievements. Reinvention is never easy, especially when the whole world is watching. The risk of failure is magnified. Every new project is compared to the past. Every performance is judged through the lens of a previous success. Some transitions are celebrated, others are criticized. But within that pressure lies an extraordinary bravery. To accept that growth may not always be applauded, yet still step forward, takes a level of self-awareness many will never understand. This is the quiet resilience behind the headlines. It is not about rejecting success, but about redefining what success truly means in the long run. The audience, too, plays a role in this cycle. Our loyalty to characters, franchises, and familiar stories can make us resistant to change. We want the comfort of what we already love. But history shows that the most memorable careers are built on transformation, not repetition. When icons dare to choose something different, they often inspire others to reconsider their own lives, careers, and identities. Change, once seen as a threat, begins to look like a powerful form of freedom. And that is when entertainment transcends distraction and becomes a reflection of real human experience. In the digital age, where every move is analyzed in real time, leaving a franchise becomes part of a larger conversation about authenticity. People crave genuine stories, real emotions, and meaningful journeys. When a celebrity steps away from a profitable spotlight and chooses uncertainty instead, it sends a message that resonates far beyond the screen. It reminds us that fulfillment is not always found in repetition, that success is not only measured in numbers, and that sometimes walking away is the most powerful step forward. Starting over does not erase what came before. Those roles, those iconic moments, remain part of cultural history, but they no longer define the full person. Instead, they become chapters in a larger story of growth. The actor who once saved fictional worlds or ruled fantasy kingdoms now seeks something quieter, deeper, or simply different. And in doing so, they show that no single role, no matter how legendary, should limit the endless potential of a human life. Perhaps that is the greatest lesson hidden within these high-profile exits. Fame may be loud, glittering, and addictive, but meaning is personal and subtle. The courage to listen to one's inner voice, even when it contradicts the world's expectations, is a rare form of strength. These decisions, often misunderstood, are not about turning away from success. They are about turning toward authenticity, growth, and the freedom to explore what lies beyond the familiar spotlight. So the next time a beloved star announces they are stepping away from a role that made them famous, pause before asking why they would give it all up. Instead, consider what they might be moving toward: a new version of themselves, a new kind of story, a new sense of purpose. Because in the end, the greatest performance is not on screen. It is the bravery to rewrite your own narrative, even when the whole world expects the same script to continue.